All right, guys, so this is just an extension for what we've been doing. For those of you guys who are taking the chance to look at it, that's great. This is going to be really helpful for you guys going forward in both pre-cal and calculus. So what this is something called the complex fraction. And basically what we're doing here is we're just combining addition, subtraction with our multiplication and our division. They look a little intimidating, but they're really not that bad. And I'm going to post a couple of these practice problems on Schoology just for extra, kind of as an extension for those of you guys who really want to get that extra practice in before pre-cal. So what we're going to do here is we're going to treat this basically, we're going to simplify our numerator, and then we're going to simplify our denominator. And we're going to do those separately first. So my first step here is I'm going to simplify my numerator. All right, well, I'm going to get a common denominator. So that common denominator is 6. So I would multiply top and bottom by 2. So that leaves me with x over 6 minus 2x over 6, which is going to simplify to negative x over 6. All right, so now separately, I'm going to go ahead and simplify the denominator. So I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 2. So that gives me 2x over 10 minus 7 over 10, which is just 2x minus 7 over 10. Well, now remember, we talked about this with multiplication and division. When you have a fraction over a fraction like that, it's a little bit easier to rewrite this horizontally so we can see the division that way. So this is negative x over 6 divided by 2x minus 7 over 10. So let's check for excluded values. At this point, there's none because my denominators don't have any x's in them. Dividing fractions, we flip the second and we multiply. And then if we look, there's really not much we can simplify here besides the 6 and the 10. So the 6 and the 10 can both be divided by 2. So I end up with negative 5x over 3 times 2x minus 7. If you want to distribute that, that's fine. But keep in mind, we do need to list that excluded value of 7 over 2. All right, so another complex fraction. This is one that you'll actually see almost for certain in calculus. We're going to simplify the top. Okay, so we're going to see what this denominator has and that denominator needs. So the left fraction needs to get multiplied by x. Even though there is an x in it, it's x plus h. X plus h is the factor. Okay, so this one would get multiplied by x plus h. So that means that my numerator is going to become x over x times x plus h minus x plus h over x times x plus h. Remember, when you subtract, you're subtracting the entire quantity. So I'm going to change that to plus, negative, negative. X minus x goes away. So I'm left with just negative h over x, x plus h. And now remember, all we just did there was the numerator. This whole thing is still divided by h. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it horizontally. So negative h over x, x plus h, divided by h. Now remember, when you divide by h, okay, you flip the second and multiply. And now those h's are going to cancel out. So I'm left with negative 1 over x, x plus h. For excluded values on this, don't worry too much about that. I know it gets a little complicated when you have two different variables. It's more important for us to be able to get those excluded values when there's just that single variable. All right, so let's look at one more of these. All right, so on this one looks a lot scarier. But again, what we're going to do is we're going to break it down. We're going to go step by step. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify the numerator. And what we're going to do is the same thing that we did back when we just added and subtracted. Get a common denominator. Well, in order to get that common denominator, right fraction needs x minus 3. Sorry, left fraction needs x minus 3. Right fraction needs x minus 6. So that's going to give me 2x squared minus 6x over that denominator minus, and we'll FOIL this out, that's going to be x squared plus x minus 6x is minus 5x. And that's my numerator. Oh, sorry. That's not my numerator. It is, it's just not simplified. Let's go ahead and simplify it. That's going to be x squared. And I'm going to change this to plus, negative, positive, positive. So that's going to be x squared minus x plus 6 over that common denominator. All right. So now let's look at the numerator. Okay, same process. We're going to simplify the numerator. Well, I need to factor this first. And when I factor, I notice that the left fraction already has x minus 6. So the right fraction is good. It doesn't need anything in the denominator. The right fraction just needs x minus 3. So we'll go ahead and FOIL out the top. That's going to be x squared minus 3x minus 2x is minus 5x. The right one didn't change, but I am going to go ahead and write that denominator factored, so it's common. Now I can combine those together. That gives me x squared. Let me go ahead and change that so we don't make a mistake. That gives me x squared minus 7x plus 5 over that denominator. So now that the numerator and the denominator are both simplified, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rewrite this problem horizontally. Because again, remember, it was just what's in purple divided by what's in blue. So I'm going to rewrite the simplified version of what we had in purple. So that's x squared minus x. Sorry, I can't see it right now. Plus 6 because I'm zoomed in. And then this is going to be divided by what we got in blue, which was x squared minus 7x plus 5. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list my excluded values. All right, x is not equal to 6 and x is not equal to 3. So now, since I'm dividing, remember whenever you divide, we flip the second and multiply. So we'll go ahead and rewrite this. Flip the second. And now we do have some new potential excluded values. If you want, this doesn't factor, you'd have to use quadratic formula to get them. So we're going to leave that for now because the bigger focus here is really just finding kind of your simplified version. Also, I can't remember off the top of my head, I don't think this gives you real values. And if it's not real, we don't need to include it. All right, so now x minus 3 cancels, x minus 6 cancels. So I'm left with x squared minus x plus 6 over x squared minus 7x plus 5. And x is not equal to 6 or 3. All right, so that is complex fractions. So again, this is just a pretty good extension for those of you guys who kind of understand this process. This is really going to help you out a lot when you get to pre-cal and when you get to calculus as well.